You've been gone from your family for too long. When you finally return, you find nothing. No signs of life anywhere. The only thing that you find is a message carved into a tree. What happened here? Heyo, and welcome to another episode of The Dark Hives. I'm Jamie talking to Leo.
And I'm Leo listening to Jamie.
And this week, we are going to be discussing the lost colony of Roanoke.
The only thing I know about this colony is that they disappeared.
Really?
Like, I know a little bit. I know that some people went away, and then when they came back, they were gone. I don't know all the details.
You ready to get into it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Exploration of the Outer Banks region of North Carolina began around the mid-1520s. Now, exploration is being used very loosely here, as it was the Florentine Giovanni de Verrazzano, under command of the French, that merely skirted the Outer Banks. They just saw it and kept going. The next year, a Spanish explorer named Pedro de Quejo simply passed by them on a trip to the Chesapeake Bay, which lies further north. It wasn't until about 20 years later that one man named Sir Walter Raleigh would actually show a real interest in the area.
Walter Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds pretty familiar.
You are remembering him from our Lost City of Zed.
Oh my goodness. The man who went missing.
No. That was Percy Fawcett. Walter Raleigh was, he was among the first to go to South America to look for this city. Remember his son, Watt?
Oh, yeah.
I believe you were bashing.
That's a Wada.
That's a lot of bashing. Yep. Well, Mr. Raleigh is once again making an appearance in our episodes, and it will be him who funds the majority of the explorations to the Outer Banks. Queen Elizabeth I gave Raleigh permission to, quote, discover, search, find out, and view such remote heathen and barbarous lands, countries, and territories not actually possessed by any Christian prince and inhabited by Christian people.
Yeah, so go find new places.
Yeah, but lovely Elizabeth essentially said is, go explore America, and you can claim and take any lands for England as long as there are no other Europeans there. So, fuck the natives, huh? The goal of this invasion was to set up a colony where raids against the Spanish West Indies could be launched. At this time in history, the Spanish Armada is the largest naval powerhouse in the world. So, England's trying to set up camp in a different location rather than just straight from their little island,
Yep.
In April of 1584, 2 ships were launched under the command of Philip Amatus and Arthur Barlow to go check out the Outer Banks. They arrived a few months later in July of 1584. Here, they found multiple islands that had plenty of essentials like timber, hunting, and soil that was, quote, the most plentiful, sweet, fruitful, and wholesome of all the world.
Sounds like a dream.
Yeah, seems nice. They also found the local natives to be, quote, very handsome and goodly people, and in their behavior as mannerly and civil as any of Europe, end quote.
Yeah, it's weird how people treat you when you're not shooting at them.
Well, it's also funny to me that, wow, you've discovered that people who might look a little bit different than you are just like you. What a groundbreaking discovery.
It's wild.
The natives, for their part, had possibly realized that creating an alliance with the English could be beneficial to them. So they traded with them and didn't kill them, which is better than what I would have done. 1500s, I'm killing them. Get off of my land. You're coming here to take it from me. Fuck off.
Yeah, but it wasn't their land either. It was no one's land.
Well, it was certainly the natives' land. They lived there. They resided there. Their ancestors had lived there and resided there.
Yeah, but they believed in, no one owned it. You just used it.
Well,
and you took care of it.
Yes, in the spiritual sense, but I mean, historically, it was theirs. The one island that the English liked in particular was a 10-mile long and 2.5-mile wide island called Roanoke. The expedition returned to England with information as well as 2 natives named Manteo of the Croatoan tribe and Wanchese of the Roanokes. Not sure if they were forced to go back or if they willingly went along, but the return, coupled with the information and the people, excited Raleigh so much that a year after this first expedition set off, so did the second. I read that the natives, they worked hard to learn English, and then they were telling the English people all about like their customs and their way of life, the land, everything like that. So pretty cool, pretty helpful.
Yeah, very Dances with Wolves.
Very Dances with Wolves.
You teach me, I teach you.
Yeah. Lay down.
Everyone, that is Tara. She is the podcast dog.
That's my dog being bad. She's sick. She's allowed to hang out.
Tara, lay down.
Thump.
Good girl.
Okay. April of 1585, 5 fleet ships and 2 pinnaces?
Did you say pinnaces?
Pinnaces? Pinnaces? 2 other ships left England.
It's not like penis, is it?
No, it's Pinnaces. Pinnaces.
It's a pinnace. Yeah, so pinnaces.
Pinnaces. I was right. Hot shit.
This rhymes with sinus.
Pinus?
Pinus. Or tennis. Pinnace.
That's why we don't trust AI people. Okay, well, Merriam-Webster says pinnace. And I trust her.
Pinnaces.
So, that was a complete derailment. Where am I?
2 pinnaces joined them.
Yes, 5 fleet ships and 2 pinnaces left with around 600 soldiers and sailors and the 2 natives.
I take my pinnace everywhere I go, you know what I'm saying?
I despise that reference.
You don't have a pinnace?
No, I have a fleet. Okay. They arrived back in America around June of the same year. Leading this expedition was Raleigh's cousin, Sir Richard Grenville. After a couple months of exploring various islands in the Outer Banks, Grenville sent a man named Ralph Lane to establish a fort settlement community, a place to live, on Roanoke Island. Grenville and the main fleet then left for England again to get more people and more supplies. This left Ralph Lane with about 100 other men on Roanoke. While Grenville was gone, Lane put together 2 expeditions that traveled up to the Chesapeake Bay, and the other one went down the Chowan and the Roanoke rivers to find some copper and gold mines that they had heard about from the natives.
How big is Roanoke?
10 miles long, 2.5 miles wide.
So about 16 kilometers long and about 3.2 kilometers wide. And how far off the shore is Roanoke? I didn't know Roanoke was an island.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it a decent distance away or is it pretty dang close? Bless you.
Thank you. The distance from Roanoke to the mainland is about 1 to 4 miles, depending. Why are you giving me that look?
No, it's 1 to 4 miles is a big difference, but I'm guessing depending on which end of the island you're on.
Yes.
It might be kind of off kilter.
Yes.
About 1.5 to 6.5 kilometers off of the mainland. So it's not too terribly far away.
No. So it was around early 1586 when Lane decided that the best place for a settlement would actually be up around the Chesapeake Bay, not on Roanoke. Now, this was partially due to hostilities that had developed between the English and the native Algonquin people. The English needed and relied on the natives to provide them with food. The natives, for their part, while originally welcoming, began to tire of having to take care of these English people.
I had to keep feeding these white guys.
Yeah, otherwise they'd die because they're not used to this land. They're like infants. On top of that, European diseases had started to take a toll on the native population, something we see time and time again all over colonization. Their bodies weren't used to it, so something like smallpox would ravage the people.
Smallpox is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Was that what was going on over there with smallpox?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if you smoke smallpox scabs, you can cure smallpox? It's like an immunity. You build an immunity to it.
So it wouldn't cure it, but it's kind of like a vaccine before vaccines were a thing?
Yeah. So if you pick the scab off of somebody with like a smallpox scab off of somebody and grind it up and smoke it, you get minor symptoms of smallpox, but you build an immunity towards it.
Is it like smoking it like a J or inhaling the smoke? Do you know? That might be too specific. I don't know why it matters.
As long as it gets in you, I think you're good. So you pack a bowl with that thing and smoke it like, yeah.
That is so fucking gross.
Pack a bowl.
A bowl of scabs.
Bowl of scabs, smallpox scabs. But yeah, it'll literally you'll get sick for a couple days, but then you have an immunity to smallpox. So if that ever comes back, guys, anti-vaxxers out there, I guess you could do that instead. Kind of gross, but could just get your vaccines.
Just get your fucking vaccines. So with the diseases now taking over, the natives feared that the white men were intent on causing them harm, and so they decided that they needed to get the fuck out. Chief of the Secoton tribe of the Algonquin, Wingini, said that's so wrong. Wingina decided to cut off the food supply to the Englishmen. Now this would force the English to break up into smaller factions to go and search for food. These small factions would then easily be taken by the natives. Fucking smart, huh?
They're doing some warfare tactics here. Separate them and take them out.
Well, I gotta get these people the fucking away from me. They're killing everybody and taking our food. Lane, unfortunately for the natives, found out about this plan, so he decided to retaliate by killing Wingina. This was the ultimate turning point of native English relations in the area. He went and killed their chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck you.
Sends quite the message.
Yeah, fuck you. Sir Francis Drake, another famed explorer at this time.
I mean, you say fuck you, but I'm also on their side. Like, if you go to this place, everybody's getting along. And then you've been relying on these people like, hey, help us figure it out. Well, we get figured out. We're all being friends. We're trading. We're doing this. And then you just stop trading with us. And then you take us out while we're hunting for our own food. Kind of fuck you, bud.
Yes, but, we'll have a little debate here. On the other hand, these strangers come into your land to set up. They are taking your food rations, your food supplies, and then they are killing your people with some unknown disease that you have never seen before, and less knowledgeable about medicines and diseases and things like that. You're gonna think it's a god. You're going to think that this is something supernatural that they are doing to you.
Yeah, I think you're putting a lot of guessing on that, though.
I am certainly not. There was actually, I believe it was the National Park Service website that said that they actually thought the white men were godlike creatures intent on hurting them all.
Yeah, but that's one tribe.
Yes.
There's so many tribes, so many things. You're telling me that natives didn't know what it was like to get sick?
Not with smallpox. That was a fucking
No,
brutal
not
disease.
with smallpox, but they've gotten sick. They've seen sickness before. Honestly, to me, if I'm on an island somewhere, we know what sickness is. We know what sickness looks like. And if we see these newcomers to the island that we're all getting along with, and they're getting sick, and our people are getting sick, I would just think it's a bad friggin' flu season or whatever.
Well, they didn't necessarily have to be sick at that time. It's very much just we carry different diseases in our body, and it's just whether or not we can fight them off. It's a big reason why even today when you travel, a lot of people get sick just because you're going to a new place. Our bodies will get sick on vacation a lot because of something like that.
That's why I'm a big advocate for licking doorknobs.
Anyway, back to the story. So Sir Francis Drake, who was another famous explorer, had arrived on Hatteras Island from the West Indies in June of 1586. It was originally planned that Drake would take the men up to Chesapeake, But a hurricane hit, and Lane was eventually persuaded to just return to England instead. Back in England, Lane reported everything back to Raleigh, and in response, Raleigh got one final expedition together to return to America once again. This time, a man named John White was in charge. 3 years after the original expedition set off, 118 people, men, women, and children, all took off for the Chesapeake Bay in April of 1587. Now this time they're planning on just going straight to Chesapeake. We're not even gonna fuck around down in the Outer Banks. We're going to our final destination.
Yep.
On board was White himself, his daughter Eleanor Dare, and her husband Ananias, along with just friends and associates, people close to the family. So it's a much smaller group this time.
Yeah, and do we know why they didn't go back to Roanoke and they just said, fuck it, we're going to Chesapeake Bay?
They thought that that was going to be the better place to set up a settlement.
So all the people left the island, went back to England, and now are going to Chesapeake instead of Roanoke. So everyone's off of Roanoke, right?
Yep.
Just natives left on Roanoke?
Yep.
Okay, so this settlement is now cruising for Chesapeake Bay.
Yep.
Okay, got you.
We want to go straight up to the place where Lane thought that they had the best chances for survival in.
Got it.
The goal here was to set up camp along the bay and name the city of Raleigh. Very humble of Sir Walter. They would not make it to the Chesapeake Bay, though, as the captain of the ship transporting them dropped everyone off on Roanoke and refused to go any further north. So they stayed in Roanoke, and just like before, the native relations were a problem for the English. An Englishman was ambushed and killed by a Secatan tribe member, so in retaliation, the English then attacked a nearby village thinking that it was a Secatan village. Unfortunately, it was not. It was the Croatoan. They just randomly attacked these innocent natives. Tensions are getting very high.
Yeah, white man came in and they just attacked everybody.
Yeah, fuck you. That's scary.
But the natives are attacking too.
Which, that's scary. It's not good. I mean, it is not a good relationship between anybody.
Yeah, we were all getting along. What happened? What happened is Europeans got fucking greedy.
Yeah, I'm tired of giving you all my food, and I'm tired of my people dying. One good point for the English, though, during this time was the birth of a little girl named Virginia Dare in August of 1587. She would be the first English-born person in America.
The first American.
Yeah.
We had Native Americans.
Yes.
Now we got American.
Now we got white Americans.
She came out sleeveless shirt, PBR in her hand, and a trucker cap that says, God bless America.
Caw-caw.
The Eagles were screaming that day.
Rock, flag, and eagle.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. In late August, though, John White was forced to return to England to gather more supplies and people. Not the first time this has had to happen. But this would be the last time anybody from Europe would see the settlers. The plan was to have the settler group split into two, with one group staying on Roanoke and the other one trying to find a more suitable place inland. If the group on Roanoke was to leave for whatever reason, they were to carve their destination into nearby trees.
Marking their path.
Yeah, just a little, sticky note. Hey, went here, BRB, or BBN. Be back never. Now, back in England, White expected to be done and ready to return to America by spring of the next year. Just get my supplies, get my people, and I'm going back to my family. The problem was that the Spanish were about to attack England. We got the most formidable naval fleet in the world coming for England, who at this time was not a crazy powerhouse, So Queen Elizabeth ordered all ships had to stay in England. We have to be ready to attack or defend.
Mm-hmm.
This delayed his return trip by 3 years.
It's quite a while.
Yeah, a long time when the people back there are literally waiting for supplies. They're waiting for the essentials, and he was gone for 3 years from them. Now, after the Spanish Armada battle was done, Raleigh, Sir Walter Raleigh, who had been, putting together these expeditions, had now turned his little colonizing eyes to poor Ireland. So he was no longer interested in fucking around in America. The whole reason that they were even doing this was to set up a place to attack the Spanish West Indies. So now with the Spanish not necessarily a problem, we don't necessarily need to be in America.
Yeah.
This forced White to look for other investors and other help to get back to America. Finally, in 1590, White convinced some privateers that were bound for the West Indies to take him up to Roanoke. August 18th of 1590, White finally returned to the place where he had left behind his family and friends. There, he saw the remnants of the settlement, but no sign of life. There also seemed to be no signs of a struggle or even of a quick departure from the settlement. Everything looked perfectly normal, but with nobody there. Carved nearby into the trees were just 2 words, Crow and Croatoan. Seeing this, he quickly set sail for Croatoan Island, but as the weather tends to do down there, it turned into a storm and White was forced to return to England. Now, I'm not quite sure why, instead of maybe going back to Roanoke and, waiting it out, I don't know why he went all the way back to England.
There's a storm brewing, so instead of holding down fort, we're going to go across the ocean again.
Yeah.
Hey, these guys had time to burn back in the day, Nothing on
guess.
TV. I mean, the big thing back in the 1500s is taking trips. Let's just take a trip. Write a journal at sea.
Yeah. So he left. And you know what? Honestly, this is pretty much the last we hear of John White in history. It's believed he died around 1606 in Ireland, but he would never find out what happened to everyone he left back in America. Now, there are several theories as to what happened to this famous lost colony of Roanoke. I used the National Park Service website for this next part, and it was extremely helpful in breaking this down, so snaps and claps to the national park here.
Let's go. National parks.
Yeah. Now, the first theory that we're going to talk about is just a hurricane. Now, snaps and claps to the NPS. Here are the pros and cons for this theory. Pros: hurricanes do hit the Outer Banks. Not frequently, but it is certainly not unheard of. A hurricane had hit and sunk some English ships in that area back in 1586. And a hurricane that potentially could have traveled north was reported in Cuba in 1588. Now, cons to this theory. There were no signs of major damage to the settlement. Remember, I said it was literally like they just disappeared.
Like they just all got up one day and walked out.
Exactly. So certainly no evidence of the ravages of a hurricane. And the second con is that having hurricanes multiple years in a row in the Outer Banks is pretty fucking rare. The next theory is that famine or disease took him out. Pros: the whole reason for John White returning to England was to get food and supplies, and with the bad relations between the natives, they weren't feeding them. So, pretty good reason to speculate that, starvation got him.
But then there'd be bodies.
Yeah, one of the cons is that no graves were found. If the people were slowly dying of starvation or even disease, surely there would be evidence of graves there. The other pro for this idea is that there were signs of a major drought in the Outer Banks between 1587 to 1590. But now that I'm saying this, doesn't that kind of dispel the hurricane theory? Certainly there wouldn't be a drought if you're in a hurricane.
I mean, a hurricane is just one storm. You could have get dumped on for one storm and then it be in a drought.
Okay, yeah, good point. The other con is that disease also seems a bit unlikely because it appears that really only the natives were dying. Wasn't really hitting the Europeans like that. The next theory it's kind of like a 3-in-1. This theory is just that they moved to a different place. So the first place option is Chesapeake Bay. This was the original place that they wanted to settle, so it would make sense if the group went up there. There were also reports from the Jamestown colony, which was founded in 1607, that natives told stories of seeing white people in that area. So before we get our official settlement, white people weren't exactly rampant in the lands. Could have been them. Against this theory is that no evidence has ever been found linking the lost colony up to that region. Like no artifacts, nothing really. Also, traveling up to the bay would require boats of some kind because they actually had to travel through open ocean to get there from Roanoke. So that would make it pretty difficult for men, women, and children to get up there, The next place is the Albemarle Sound. I hope I'm saying that right. The idea here is that they went inland from the sound. Pros for this one is White had left instructions to travel to this area. Head inland if you need to leave Roanoke. There is also a map from John White that included a symbol that is believed to be marking a fort in this area, though it was later covered up with a patch. So it appears like maybe if they didn't settle there, that they intended to. There have also even been some English artifacts uncovered in the area near where that symbol is on the map. Now, cons for this theory is that there is no evidence, like bodies or buildings that have been located in the area, and the artifacts that were uncovered, they don't necessarily link back to the lost colony. Now, the last relocation theory is that the people moved to Croatoan, which is present-day Hatteras Island. Pros for this theory is that they literally carved the word Croatoan onto a tree, and the instructions were that if they left, carve where you're going. The natives on Croatoan were actually known to be quite friendly with the colonists, so it isn't likely that they would have been killed by them. I've heard some theories just in my time that they were writing that as potentially, the Croatoan had come to kill them all.
Which is what I thought at first. It was like Crow and Croatoan. So maybe Chief Crow or the Warrior Crow from the Croatoan knew what happened to them.
I'm sorry, maybe I should have specified. Crow, when it was written, was literally just CRO. Like they were starting to spell Croatoan.
Oh, I thought it was like Crow the bird.
Yeah, that's my bad. I should have specified that. But hey, better late than never.
Somebody stuttered on a tree.
Yeah.
Croatoan.
Croatoan? Yeah. But they were friendly. They seemed like, from what we know, the Croatoan didn't have a problem with them. Manteo, who went back to England after the first expedition, was from Croatoan. So they seem to have they were on good terms with each other. Another pro for this theory is that more English artifacts from this time period were found on the island. But the cons to this theory is that, again, no buildings or bodies from the English were found there. And the artifacts that were found there very well could have been from trading. Since the colonists and the natives were on such good terms, it wouldn't necessarily indicate that that is where the colonists went, because trading is just as likely.
Wait, what? Oh, I see what you're saying. So, yeah, because they were trading, that's how the artifacts got there, not because the settlers were actively there.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Now, the last theory that we're going to talk about is assimilation. In May of 2025, archaeologists found 2 piles of iron flakes on Hatteras Island, which was Croatoan Island, Iron flakes are also known as hammer scale. They are the byproduct of blacksmithing. It has led experts to believe that potentially the English people went to this island and simply just assimilated with the friendly natives there.
That'd be a pretty nice scenario for this settlement.
Yeah, I mean, they went there and they were blacksmithing weapons. It seems, if this theory is correct, then it seems like they were doing okay there. Now, something that lends credence to the idea that they somehow ended up on Croatoan Island is that the carving in the tree wasn't rushed or anything. You know, it seems less likely that they were being attacked. The English couldn't survive on their own and likely needed the assistance of the natives. So it would also make sense that they chose the tribe that was the nicest to them, you know?
Go to the nice ones.
Yeah. Even John White, when he was alive, was absolutely sure that that is where they had gone. This isn't a widely accepted piece of evidence, the iron flakes, but...
Yeah, I mean, they're trading and they're talking to each other, so they could have taught them.
Yeah, it's very hard to tell, but that's all I got.
Open-ended mystery, choose your own adventure, how it ended.
Very much. Thoughts, views, and opinions?
I mean, I like it, but being the one who did all the research and everything, what do you think happened?
I think it's very likely that they just went down to Croatoan and banded with them. I think that the complete lack of struggle in the scene, I think the fact that there was time to carve, take away the fact that artifacts were found there and this, that, and the other, it just does not present to me like a scene of a massacre, you know?
Yeah.
And that would also explain why, you know, there wasn't graves or anything. I don't think disease or famine is likely. A hurricane seems unlikely to me because, again, the lack of destruction of any sort. What do you think?
I think that's a really good theory, and honestly, I'm on the fence on that theory.
Mm-hmm.
Does make sense. I mean, if they knew they were going somewhere that was already inhabited by people and was already set up, they would have no need to bring their things, right?
Yeah.
Bring the stuff on your back, live like a native. If they're willing to accept us, we'll just assimilate and everything will be fine. The more I think about it, the more it sounds like that is probably what happened.
Mm-hmm. But?
What's the name of the channel that was just to the northwest?
The Albemarle Sound?
Yeah, my knee-jerk reaction was to go with that theory and just think that they snaked up the river and went more inland, and then from there, who knows where they could have gone.
Yeah.
You know, Chesapeake Bay, that's way north. That's a long trip. Cruising the ocean all the way up. That's a ways away. Natives, although some have been friendly, also some have not been, so trying to get in with them, it seemed like it's, you know, a flip of the coin type thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't believe in the hurricane one, but the sound going up the sound and inland, but they would have packed stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, not only that, but they didn't really have a lot. That was the whole point of White leaving to begin with, was that they didn't have any fucking supplies, you know?
Yeah, maybe they said, fuck it, we're going inland, we're going to go somewhere where it's a little better, and then from there, who knows where they went.
Yeah.
A whole country they could have explored after that, so they could have Lewis and Clark their way across the country, for all we know.
Who knows if they could have run into a native tribe who killed them inland, or they could have run into a native tribe that took them in. Like, you can mix and match every single fucking theory, I feel like. But pick whatever fucking theory you like, mix them up, match them together. Who knows?
I do like the Croatoan theory. I mean, how many settlers were left with the women and children and everybody there? There's around 100 people, right?
Between 100 and 110.
I mean, that's a lot of mouths to feed, but that's a lot of hands that can help out work. I want to know more about the Croatoan. Did the Croatoan go on to, like, conquer and do things? Because maybe these Europeans got into their head and were like, oh, why are you guys just living like this? Why don't you expand your borders?
I'll teach you how to colonize.
Yeah. Maybe the Europeans taught the Croatoans how to colonize their own islands.
Yeah, maybe. That's the fun part of this. All right, friends. Well, I'm talking to you guys now. Which theory do you guys subscribe to? You know, you've heard Leo and I's opinion on the disappearance. What do you guys think happened?
Yeah, and if you do like the more open-ended stuff, mysteries that we can do a little deep dive in, give a little background on, and then kind of have a conversation about.
Yeah, we can powwow.
Yeah, let us know. We'll put more episodes like this into the rotation, so that way, it just it adds a little bit more
fun. I like a little mystery intrigue. With that, I think we will wrap this up.
Yeah, like the show, comment on the show, rate the show, follow the show, share the show, do things with the show. We need your help.
You can also follow us on Instagram or send me an email, both of which are linked in the show description.
Do all the things, and we will see you guys next week for another episode of The Dark Archives. That was fucking weird. I'm just going to let Jimmy do that. We'll see you guys next week
for another episode of The Dark Archives.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Goodbye.
Did you like doing it? You like putting it together?
I love a good fucking mystery. I like discussing it. I like hearing the different theories that people come up with. I'm just one brain. You're just one brain. I want to hear from 50,000 other brains, Well,
you heard it here first, everybody. You better help her. And for anybody who's been hanging around, hopefully you know that we're still talking to you after the credits roll. See you guys next week.